everything I've learned about large language models um, has come from videos on YouTube for the most part. So I'm not an expert, but there is a lot of content out there. And from what it sounds like, it's like AI, it's just an expression of the data that's available to it. And so, in a sense, it sort of can give you like an average of something in a way, sort of um, like it does it with images to where you see something that's obviously derivative of something else. So in a way, by creating content, we all contribute to it. So to the extent that it gets any kind of ability to influence human affairs, then what it thinks is reality is going to be based in large measure on what we tell it. That could change if you were to give it sensory capabilities. Like if you equipped it to take in data from the environment. Then it could directly study the world. Because like right now it's, other than like a few robot bodies, it kind of just, it only deals with the data that we can get into it. But if it could sample the world directly, like through chemical analysis, it could perhaps conjecture about things. Or I guess it could just ingest the data that we feed it directly. But there's no guarantee that that data is not biased. So if you think about um, the advent of this AI that just processes all this information, and then combine that with a surveillance state and an internet that just like ingests a high percentage of what we express. So in a way, it's like this AI is an expression of a hive mind that is us. But I've also heard about how it will also take in AI generated content. So when it first started, it was just human created content, and then it had an interpretation of that. Then AI generated content started getting into like the data pool of what it uses. And so it becomes like a game of telephone. Like a lot of people I've talked to they played that game in elementary school or middle school, where a phrase is given to a person and then it's whispered from mouth to ear through the whole classroom. And then at the end, what comes out on the other side is like not even close to the thing that was given at the beginning. So it has done some strange things. And, it may be that problem's already been solved. I think I've talked about that before, but like, I'm no programmer, but there should be a way to delineate through some kind of header or something that this is AI generated content, to like instruct other AIs not to ingest it, not to cannibalize it. Anyway, so yeah, so the fact that these things that do this conceptualizing are ingesting all this content from us, it gets its ideas about the world from us. And it's clear that there are like boundaries that can be sort of hard coded into it. So yeah, maybe it becomes sort of an arbiter. Like, I heard a microcosmic example of this. I saw, I think, in a meme where a man had chat GPT analyze a text conversation between himself and his girlfriend or wife, and it gave like an objective assessment that was heavily in his favor. And so that's sort of a microcosmic example of what could happen with AI, I think. Like, I don't know though, because it seems then all you'd have to do is distort the reality that's ingested, just distort the data that gets fed into it, and then it just sort of cooks up whatever reality you want it to. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if it really does anything novel. Like, every AI conversation I've heard has just been sort of a regurgitation of facts with sort of commentary around it and like adjectives. So I don't know, like, is it going to discover something that we would have needed instrumentation to discover? I could see, like, it could execute things. I mean, I think it definitely will leverage human capability, but for now, it's apparent that you really need to double, triple, quadruple check your work with it. I don't know. I don't use it enough to know how to recognize it. But the problem of it ingesting other AI generated content, one of the symptoms I heard, I think in a podcast, was that it would just go off into like a non sequitur. So yeah, so you'd be talking about like medieval architecture in Europe, and then it starts talking about like the life habits of llamas. So you really have to check that out. And like, I've heard that there have been citations of law precedent that were fictional. that's troubling. So it's like data needs to really be cordoned off, because I guess hopefully there's enough law books or paper, law libraries, um, because yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to figure out what's what. Give it a few generations, and nobody will know what history was unless it was on pages. That's all for now.